Welcome back to part 2 of Erling Haaland trapped at Dover. If you missed part 1, check it out. There'll be a card link in the top corner. Today, we resume our adventure. At the end of last video, Erling Haaland had got Dover promoted to League 1. 2 promotions in 3 years. We are back at the end of Dover's first season at League 1. And here he is, yes, 28 years old now, 100 caps reached, and he got 27 goals, which, I mean, is good, especially compared to his XG. An XG of 15.6, massively overperforming it. Only 4 player of the matches does have me a tiny bit worried for how Dover have done. Let's take a look at things here. They finished 20th, which means they avoided the drop by 1 point. Dover, you are very, very lucky. You can see here, Erling Haaland still got the best average rating in the league across the season and had more goals comfortably than anyone else. And yet that was very nearly not enough to secure their safety. Only 12 wins, 18 draws. On the last day of the season, how did they get on? Let's have a quick peek here. So they lost against Mansfield, then Blackpool lost against Charlton. So if Blackpool had won that game, Erling and his motley crew of men over in Dover would have been going down a division. Looking at the Dover squad here, it just seems like they have a complete lack of service. Kozia Dubry had a pretty good season. To be fair, he was probably the second best player from a creative standpoint behind Erling Haaland. A really, really, really subpar season by the entire squad. What was their media prediction at the start of things? They were predicted to finish 14th, so that's a really, really poor performance by Dover this year. But the big thing is they've stayed up. Neil Critchley is still their manager. They are still, I believe, playing the 4-3-3 as well. Yeah, indeed they are. So no tactical change with the promotion. They went on some pretty horrific runs during this year. It's kind of surprised the manager's still in the job, but I guess he's earned a bit more time with 2 promotions. So not a bad first season for Dover in League 1. They stayed up, which I think was probably their main aim, looking at their progression. Compared to when they were stuck in the National League, it feels like they're maybe getting a little something going here. I am a little concerned that at 28 years old, Erling Haaland is now in his prime. Realistically, they've probably got maybe 4 to 5 seasons of him at his very best. They need to make the most of it. We're going to go forward 2 years and see how he's doing at the age of 30. Are Dover still going to be in League 1? Are they going to have been able to build a slightly better squad behind him? Let's go find out. So the year is 2030. There has been a manager change, and I've noticed here Dover are still in League 1, just about. How did they get on last season? So they actually finished 12th, which is a really good improvement compared to how they just avoided the drop the year before. But finishing this year in 18th, they've slipped back down the table just a little bit. They avoided the drop by 8 points. Erling Haaland was the top goal scorer and did have the highest average rating, although only 22 goals to his name is, dare I say, a little underwhelming. How has he done over the last couple of years? So 27 goals in his first season where they just stayed up, 25 goals last year, and then this year, 22 goals to his name. The average ratings definitely taking a surprising tumble. I feel like Dover just lack the creativity behind him to make the most of his overall ability. Nigel Atkins took over in November of this year, so he's not been at the club too long. I'm curious, how bad was their form before he took over, if you have a look at past positions? Okay, wow. When he took over, they were down in the relegation zone. They started the season well, and then they fell off massively. I mean, Erling Haaland, I thought would do better than this. He's got 14 caps in the last 2 years, which doesn't seem like that many, almost like maybe he's not playing every single game for Norway. If we just look at his milestones here, I mean, I'm saying he's underwhelming. He is still getting in the kind of the team of the year and getting top goal scorer. And even this year, he did get League 1 player of the year. I mean, has he won it? He's won it the last 3 years. He really can't do much more. I think I've set my expectations too high for Erling Haaland, and I feel like I owe him an apology. It's going to be interesting now, aged 30, to see how his attributes change over time. Expecting a tumbling of his physicals to start sooner rather than later. Going to be interesting as well to see how Dover do cope with him as he does start to decline. Worth noting, he's only halfway through his time here at the club. He's only been here 10 years. Now, of course, as he gets older, they're going to fall off a little bit. I'm curious now to go forward a further 2 years and see how Dover are getting on. Is Nigel Atkins going to be the man to lead them to glory? I'll join you in a mo to find out. Aged 32, Erling Haaland's physicals are declining. They definitely are noticeably dropping down now. There is more blue than there was previously when it was a sea of yellow in the physicals column. 133 caps for Norway. The big question, though, is how has he done for Dover And the answer is he's become their captain. I think he's been their captain for a little while, but he's guided them to promotion to the Championship. I mean, that's bloody impressive, isn't it? Where were they predicted to finish? They were predicted to finish 12th. And with Simon Grayson as their manager, they have surpassed all expectations, Dover, and got promoted to the Championship. That is absolutely mad. So Grayson took over a year and a half ago, pretty much. So he's had a significant period of time. How did Dover get on the previous year? Okay, so they finished 19th under Nigel Atkins in that kind of season where Grayson took over. In his first season at the club, as their kind of full manager from the beginning, he's got them second place. I mean, Simon Grayson is a footballing genius, it turns out. As for Erling Haaland, 30 goals last year and 30 goals again this year with 13 player of the matches. It's interesting to note that last year where they finished 19th, he actually probably put in pretty similar numbers to this year. But the difference was that this year, I assume, the rest of the team actually started to perform. You can see their squad here. It's not a huge team by any means. They've got some pretty good regens coming through now, of course. We're 12 years into this simulation, so we are kind of in the distant future. Connor Bradley, who looks like he was one of their key players, unfortunately is leaving the club on a free. I am somewhat worried with these finances that they're going to struggle in the Championship. In fact, let's just have a quick look at things here. If we go to team detailed and then salary per year. So Dover's wage budget is the second lowest in the league, and yet they managed to get promoted with Erling Haaland. I mean, I guess he's getting more important goals than he was before, but it's weird to see. I did not expect them to get promoted, and I mean, when we came into this, I thought he would do way better. I thought he'd be a lot more of a kind of, a goal-a-game player. To be fair, he got 12 assists this year, so he did turn provider significantly more. I'm really interested, actually, to look at Dover's tactics. Okay, so they have been playing a 4-2-3-1, which is interesting. Of course, previous years, they've been playing a 4-3-3, which I think probably leaves Haaland a little isolated up top. Looks like there's been a change in system under Grayson that's really worked for them. They ended the season in some really great form with Erling Haaland getting so many of the goals that ultimately ended with them getting second place. I mean, I'm quite happy for little old Dover here. I am concerned now that they're in the Championship and they're just going to get absolutely murdered, especially with Haaland maybe seeing better days. Going to be interesting now to see, can they build a squad around him now they're in the Championship? I feel like there's a big jump from League One to the Championship. I mean, I'm impressed, Dover. Like, genuinely, I did not expect them to get promoted here. Erling Haaland and Simon Grayson, name a more iconic duo, I'll wait. We are going to go and see how they got on in the Championship. I hope they've stayed up. I fear for them, though, if I'm being completely honest. So we've gone forward a further 2 years. Dover, with a 34-year-old Erling Haaland, who is still, I believe, playing for the international team. I'm now curious. Has he retired from international football? I don't think he has. He might get some more caps yet. Apparently, he's still a star player for his country because he's got the model professional personality, and whilst his pace has dropped off, his attacking ability is still pretty unquestionable. In terms of Dover, some sad news. They stayed up for the first year in the Championship against all odds. They finished 16th. Unfortunately, this year, they have been relegated. They finished 22nd, and you might have caught it. Their manager is John Flanagan. Yeah, that's right. England Hall of Famer with his one cap. Former Liverpool legend, John Flanagan. Managing Dover. If you're wondering what happened to Simon Grayson, well, he left his manager role. He went and became a traitor, and then he got fired from his next job. He went to manage Barnsley for 2 years. Not happy about that. Ian Foster came in for a year and then was sacked. Flanagan has been with the club for the second half of this season in the Championship. Unfortunately, he couldn't save them from the drop. If we look at the season preview, they were predicted to finish 21st, so maybe a slim chance they would be able to stay up. If we just look at their squad and kind of the salary structure, the team has definitely taken a step forward in the last 2 years. Some much, much better players around Erling Haaland. Going to be interesting to see how many of these players they can keep hold of. In terms of Haaland's individual performances in the Championship, last year, 15 goals in 44 games, a tad underwhelming. Even this year, 19 goals in 45 was an improvement. Of course, wasn't enough to keep them up. In terms of how he has been utilised by Dover, if we just look at the tactics, they've kind of gone back to isolating him up front, and I feel sorry for him. He's been leading the line in a 4-4-1-1, but it was always going to be tough for them. I mean, I feel sorry for Dover, really, because financially they can't really compete at this level, and as good as Erling Haaland is, he is starting to get gradually worse as a player. In terms of Haaland's biography, I know people like to look at this, so we'll have a quick peek at it. 576 league games for Dover, 393 goals. He's lifted an FA trophy and a Vanarama National League. In terms of what else he's been able to do, you can see here he's been Vanarama National top goal scorer on 5 occasions, World Cup Golden Boot runner-up. Yeah, that's right, he won runner-up in the Golden Boot a few years ago, back in 2026. Unfortunately, Kylian Mbappe just that little bit better. For people wondering, how have Norway been getting on with their star captain and key player playing in Dover? I mean, to be fair, they're doing quite well. In the world rankings, they're up in 28th. They were significantly higher for a period. I think this probably coincides with Haaland dropping off a little bit. And in terms of recent international performances, they lost in the World Cup group stages. They got knocked out of a group that consisted of Paraguay and Mexico. Elsewhere, they did make it to the European Championship group stages, but just got knocked out straight away. But they've not really gone on a deep run in any competition, sadly. You can see it. They got to the European Championship second round and lost to the Netherlands in 2028. The World Cup quarterfinals, they lost to Argentina. I mean, Haaland's done okay. Haaland is kind of fairly frequently appearing here. I'm kind of impressed by the fact that he's still considered their key player and still valued quite highly. If I remember correctly, when we did a video similar to this a few years ago with Kylian Mbappe, he just didn't get picked for the France team, even though it was Mbappe. Seems like the Norwegian Football Association rate the player quality way more than the level the players play at, which is probably a relief for Haaland, considering he's been at Dover for so long. So we are 13 years into the future here. I think we'll go forward one further season today. Can Erling Haaland get Dover back to the promised land? Realistically, I think he's got one season left in his locker at top quality before his polygon looks drastically different. Let's see if they can make the most of him with John Flanagan at the helm. It's 2036. Haaland is still playing international football and he still looks really, really amazingly good. Did Dover get promoted? They made it to 4th place. Let's find out together. They did get promoted. They won on penalties in the playoff final, which is absolutely incredible. Haaland didn't get top goal scorer, but he did get the highest average rating in the league. S. Fleming beat him to the Golden Boot. Sorry, Haaland. He is just a better player than you, I guess. 31 goals in all competitions in 51 games for Forest Green is pretty impressive. I mean, it was enough to beat Erling Haaland, who only got 24 goals. Interesting to note, Dover's goalkeeper had the most clean sheets, 20 of them. 30 years old, Frenchman they signed from FC Chambly in the National League. Didn't quite save them in the Championship, but this year in League One, he has been absolutely sensational for them. If you were wondering, where were they predicted to finish upon their relegation? Well, you can see here, they were predicted to bounce back immediately. Maybe a little bit nervy that they had to go via the playoffs, but they have bounced back. John Flanagan, I take it all back. You are a footballing genius. Just looking at Haaland's stats, looking at this most recent League One season, compared to some of his earlier years in League One, it is a tad disappointing. It's the second lowest goal-scoring return at this level in 5 seasons. Naturally, he is getting on a little bit. I said before we skipped forward, I thought this was his last year, really, to have a chance at keeping them up and, maybe put them on an upwards trajectory. I look at it now, 5 years left he's got at the club. I mean, maybe they can use him to maintain themselves in the Championship. The squad around him has definitely got better over time. I mean, based on what we've seen previously, I'm not holding out much hope that he's going to be particularly, well, as much of a carry in the Championship as he has been the last few times they've been in League One. Anyway, gang, I think we'll wrap things up there for today. He has 5 years left at Dover. After we've seen how he's done across his time at the club, we will then go further into the future just to see how Dover handle life without Erling Haaland. I feel like we've given them a gift here, and with his 101 goals for Norway, I want to believe that Haaland has done the job. Dover are going to build smart, start to plan for life without him, and become a long-established Championship club. The realist in me just thinks they're going to end up going straight back down, but we're going to try and remain optimistic. I'll see you next time for that. If you have enjoyed today's video, as always, do drop a like on it. Let me know if you've got any weird, wacky, or wonderful ideas for football experiments like this one to do in Football Manager. And until next time, take care. It is me, Jack, and I will talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.